Restoring the state capitol to reflect the grandeur of architect Cass Gilbert's 1905 vision while upgrading its electrical and mechanical systems to modern standards was a huge undertaking. Photographer Tom Olmscheid documented the workers who took on this very important task. We're here in the basement of the Capitol in the Star of the North vault, where there are photographs of the workers who restored the Capitol on display both in the vault and around the outside of the vault. I'm joined by Tom Olmscheid, who is a retired house photographer who had the bright idea to document these workers as they restored our Capitol. Where did this idea come from?
Well, the idea really got started when they started to remove the paintings from the Capitol. So in one of the hearing rooms, there was a painting of the Battle of New Ulm, and that's brought me up to the Capitol to photograph that being removed. At the same time, when they had it removed, the workers were standing around. And that's when the light bulb sort of went off, and I decided to kind of concentrate on the workers, or thought I could concentrate on the workers and actually show the people that did the work on the restoration of the Capitol building.
How long did this project take?
It took about 6 years, and it was coming up once a month. I had a person I could call and set up a time. Then I would meet him, bring my hard hat and my vest, and we would go through the Capitol. We'd probably spend about 2.5 hours. And during that time, if I saw the right lighting and the right character and the right occupation, I would ask the person if I could do their photograph. And most of the time, they said yes. So it made it easy.
How did you approach each worker and decide how to frame each photograph?
I wanted to show them full figure with the clothes that they had on, and then the tools that they were using. So I always had them either holding their tools or their tools were nearby. I thought it was really important to show the tools that they were using and the clothing that they're wearing. A lot of them were wearing Under Armour in the winter, and back when they first built the Capitol, it was all wool. And so I really wanted to show what they were wearing and the tools they were using.
And these photographs are all different kinds of workers. You wrote, when you wrote about this project, about the diversity that you wanted to show, because there are both people who work in the foreground, people who work in the background, dark conditions, cramped conditions. What were some of the challenges that you faced in taking these photographs?
Most of it was just the lighting and getting into areas that I would like to get into. I was here with another person from Dunn Construction, and we were walking around, and sometimes it was based on the amount of time that he had to guide me around the building. But a lot of times it was just working in the light and what kind of, where we were, was there enough light? Shooting at real slow shutter speeds to, get a good image. And those were some of the really big challenges. Just getting up on the scaffolding, hauling that equipment. I had to go into a harness one time to get up onto the top of the Capitol building. There were a lot of challenges. And then it was just, finding time for me to come down and do the photography. But it was shooting, the architectural changes, and then also shooting the workers. And I used a separate camera to shoot just the workers. And then the hardest part was going back and editing, making sure I got the right name on the right photograph. So that was really some of the time-consuming part of it.
Do you have a favorite?
There's a worker, and she's smoothing concrete, and it's real
I've seen that one.
Stark. And I just liked the angles and the lighting that was down in that area at the time. So,
why did you choose black and white?
When I started here in 1975 as one of the house photographers, we all shot black and white. And black and white has sort of a more historical value to it. And color can sometimes be distracting. So if you shoot in black and white, you sort of focus on the person, and you get a good look at their face and what they're holding or what they're wearing. So
they're displayed here on the basement, and a lot of these workers worked in conditions that are not ideal conditions. It's interesting to me that they're displayed sometimes here in good light, but in other places not good light, and that almost where these photographs inhabit now represents, in a way, the conditions that those workers toiled in.
Yeah, I mean, you know, actually this area they're displayed pretty well down here. I really like where they're displayed. I like the stone that the images are hanging on. And I don't know, it's just, this was kind of an area that was dedicated to the workers. There's a worker plaque to the original workers on the state capitol. I think now that they've fully restored the basement of the Capitol building, it used to just be a tunnel, that this is really a beautiful place in the Capitol. Yeah, I think it's really appropriate that they're down in this space.
When people visit this space and they see these photographs that you've taken, what do you want them to take away?
You know, I'd like them to take away that this is a nice cross section of the workers and a good kind of inside look at what they look like and the tools that they used during the restoration of the Capitol building.